Well, good morning to you. It's Friday today. I'm on a day off because I'm working tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's absolutely chucking it down with rain. I was going to go for a walk this morning along the coastal path and have a chat with you. That's going to be out. So I'm going to get all the things that I should be doing. I'm going to go and get my hair cut. I'm going to get some breakfast. Probably will stop off in a coffee shop down by the coast so that I can have a little bit of a fix of sea air. And then I thought we might have a chat about, I think in the last video I'd said it was about 6 degrees of separation. It's not quite that complicated, but it's something that has been coming to my mind just lately. And it was a really nice realization to say I wasn't alone on this planet, and that there were very like-minded people like me, which was good, because I've been brought up thinking I was an oddball, which was okay. I didn't mind that, but it's nice to know that there's other oddballs out there too. Okay, let's just go and get those jobs done first. Well, I think I'm going to stay in the car because it looks a little bit grotty out there, I've got to say. It's damp and grey and quite chilly, but still nice to sit in the warmth of the car and have a chat with you. There's a guy right next to me, look, who's... Oop, there he goes. Now, I've got a feeling they live in that, because I see it down here on a regular basis. Either that or they're retired and they just spend a lot of time down the Gower on that particular, just recognise the van. Well, haircut done, got to go home and get it washed. I've got hair all down the back of my neck, which is the third worst thing after standing on a piece of Lego or biting your tongue. Hair down your neck after a haircut is awful. Go and wash that. As you can see, I've had it dyed a nice grey colour again. And that's that one job done. I had a cup of coffee, which was delightful. There was a lovely log fire, as you probably saw, and that was in one of the beach surf cafes down at a bay called Limeslade. So that was lovely. This whole conversation, in my last video, I've taken it down now, my Christmas video, because Christmas is over, but I mentioned the 6 degrees of separation. And there was a reason why I was thinking about all of that. 6 degrees of separation is probably a little bit grandiose for what I'm describing, but it's that knowledge that there are other people in the world that you know, or you're connected to. And when I was young, my grandmother always said, "Oh, Nicky's got itchy feet," and I didn't know at the time whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. Now I consider it a great thing, but then I wasn't sure, and I always felt the question would always be, am I different to everybody else? Am I odd? And as you get older, you realise it's not odd at all. There's a lot of people like me who don't want what is perceived as normal, i.e. living in a house with bricks and mortar, going to work 9 to 5, etc, etc. And that's fine. If that's what you want, that's perfectly fine, but it's not what I want. When I was sitting down having a cup of coffee, I made a quick list on my phone of the countries that I could remember that I've been to. They included France, Germany, Denmark, Spain, Austria, Belgium, Italy, Kenya, America, Canada, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Saudi Arabia, Jamaica, British Virgin Islands, Venezuela, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, Trinidad, Grenada, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent, Dominica, Malta, Greece, Holland, Andorra, Iceland, Bulgaria and Czech Republic. So that's the ones I could remember. I'm sure there's others that have slipped my memory. So I have been fortunate that I've been able to travel through my life. A lot of those countries I've been to numerous times, some a few more than once. America, for example, I've been to America quite a few times, but I've been to the extremes. I've been to the Florida, to New York, to California, to Las Vegas, you know, and then back out into the wilderness of Yosemite Park and places like that. So a lot of the places I've been to more than once. Some of them I lived in. Venezuela, I lived in Caracas for 2 years. St. Lucia, well, I didn't really live in St. Lucia because I was still on the boat at that time. The Caribbean was mostly travelled by sailboat. We did a few years out there. Ended up taking a house on an island called Martinique, a French island, which was glorious. I've lived in Germany. So I've been around, and for that I'll be eternally grateful to the life that I've managed to lead. One of the things I've noticed from YouTube is that there's a lot of travel vlogs out there now. Youngsters, there's a guy called Lost LeBlanc, is the name of the channel, Christian LeBlanc. He's 23 and he's making the most of his life. He does a fantastic channel if you have a look at it. He's got 200,000 subscribers in the first year, so he's doing something very right. But the main thing that he's doing right is he's leading his life as he wants to lead it. And as a 23-year-old, I think he should grasp that opportunity. Because I remember going to bed at 23 years old and waking up at 53 years old. It was quick. That time flies. So probably not parental advice, but as a complete stranger, my advice to a youngster would be just go and grasp every single opportunity with both hands. I'm not the only one that thinks like that. Now, I used to live on a sailboat for a number of years, came back to the UK, and then fell in love with the idea of owning and eventually living on a narrowboat. I think it's something that suits me in my life now and going into the future. The sailing was fantastic. I'm not too sure if I'd want to do that single-handed anymore. But the ways of life that intrigued me were sailing, living in a camper van was another one, and the narrowboat. Sailing is fantastic. The ocean is huge. It takes up the majority of this planet, and you pick up your home and you go. The RV, totally can see why people would do that. In America it's called RV, here we call it a camper van. But there's also the other facet to that. So for example, RV living, there's Class C's, there's Class A's, there's van life, which is just a small van that people are converting, in particular youngsters. They pick up their home and they go, and I think that's an awesome opportunity. And I did consider it for a while. I thought, well, I could travel the UK in summer, I can travel down to the south of Europe in winter. If I wanted to go skiing, I could go skiing, etc, etc. On reflection, for me, that wasn't it was 90% there. It wasn't 100%. The narrowboat for me is 100% where I want to be. For me, RV living or camper van living was 90% of the way, and sailing, I would say, yeah, no, that's 90% too. You know, I could still do that if the opportunity to buy a narrowboat wasn't there, and the opportunity to buy a sailboat was, then I wouldn't be a disappointed man. The reason that I say, and I know that there are many people like me out there, is one, the huge community that has supported me from the canal world in the UK. But through YouTube, I've allowed myself to discover other things. And I made this is not a definitive list in any stretch of the imagination. And in truth, I wouldn't say that they were recommendations, because we all have our different tastes of what we do and what we don't like. But they were a few examples. There was Caroline's RV life. You know, a single woman living in an RV. That was one story. There are Nomadic Fanatic. He's a single guy living in an RV. Both of those are in the States. There was a big channel called Exploring Alternatives, which looks at all aspects. It's small house living, living in an RV, living in a sailboat, and they've even covered one of our own, Cruising the Cut. So a little snippet of David's life is on that channel too, and that's a really interesting. So it's called Exploring Alternatives. So have a look at that. I'm going to leave links for these things down below in the description for you. One of the biggest, I wouldn't say life changes, because I knew where I wanted to go, but one of the channels that was a huge influence on me was a young couple called Nikki and Jason. They have a channel called Gone with the Wynns. Okay, so it's Nikki and Jason Wynn, and a fantastic, it's a well-produced channel above everything else. And if you were to just look at one video, you think that everything had been handed them on a plate, because they're currently living on a catamaran, and they're still in the Bahamas, I believe. So you would think, oh, well, their life's easy for them. Those guys have worked hard, very hard, for what they've got, and make it a determined effort to live the lifestyle that they want. We see about 10 minutes a week of their life. The rest of it we don't see. So once you've scratched the surface and you realise how much effort they put into it, quite remarkable in some ways. I don't wish I was young again, but if I was their age group, I would like to think that in the world that we live in today, I would be doing something similar again. What's fascinating about their channel is that I came across them originally when I was looking up composting toilets, of all things. Came across their channel because at the time they were living in an RV. They travelled all around America, and at some point in their life they decided that they would swap the RV for a sailboat. They chose a catamaran. They worked really hard to get that money together. I'm not going to go into their finances because, well, one, I don't know what their finances are, but from the snippets from the videos you can see that they've had to actually make quite a concerted effort to pull all of this together. The second thing that was fascinating about their channel is when they moved on to the catamaran, they couldn't sell, and it didn't stop them. They decided to buy a catamaran, then looked at the logistics of that and learned to sail. Quite simple, really. It's a very simple thing to think, but you know, that takes time, it takes effort, and I think they've achieved it. So go and check them out. It's Gone with the Wynns, a marvellous channel. They're young, they're good looking, and they're living the lifestyle that we would all dream of. But it's hard to hate them for that because they're so adorable. There's something else that I came across this morning, I was just flicking through the channels and I came across, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this correctly, again the link will be below. It's Emre Konak, or Konak, E-M-R-E and then K-O-N-U-K. And there's one particular video that he's done, the pros and cons of living on a sailboat. That's how it starts. What a fantastic, it's not even a YouTube video, it's a movie. It's beautifully photographed. It's I think by him and the guy that's actually in the video, David Welsford. It's beautifully shot, it's beautifully narrated, and David in that movie, it was almost as if he was talking my words when I was his age. And but it's a fantastic, make yourself a cup of coffee, pour yourself a glass of wine and go and watch that one. So whilst I said I'm not particularly recommending some channels, I would urge you to check out Exploring Alternatives, Gone with the Wind, and this one particular movie from Emre, I can't pronounce it, E-M-R-E, Konak. Okay, but as I said, the links are going to be below for those. And then explore things like, do searches on RV living, camper living, van living, sailboat living, living on a sailboat. Put all of those searches in and you will find quite fascinating channels. There's a young couple that it's their channel's called Sailing La Vagabonde, Australian couple. They live a wonderful lifestyle, and good for them. Absolutely grasp it with both hands, guys. But they also show that some days, you know, the propeller breaks on your tender. Some days you are spending 3 or 4 days trying to fix an electrical problem. So life isn't without those trials and tribulations, but let's be honest about it. They're doing it in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt on a Caribbean beach, and some of us aren't. I'm going to end this with saying there is one other type of channel that I do enjoy watching, and it's called TED Talks. And TED Talks talks about anything. Have a search through those. There are some fascinating conversations that go on, speeches, whatever, and some of them include doing something that I guess that I was scared of for many years, was that, not in my young years but in my older years, that I was scared of actually going, do you know what, just go for it, just go for it. So that's a full resource of information as well. So I hope this hasn't all bored you, because it's just a chatty video. But as you can see, the weather is atrocious. It's absolutely awful. So I'm going to go and visit my father now. I'm then going to go and find myself some lunch, and we'll see what the rest of the day unfolds. So in the meantime, play nicely. Don't forget to share your toys. See you in the next video.